Oh, I think I got this thing running now. Hopefully I got this thing running. Guys, welcome back to Photoko Lounge. If you are actually in the chat, I see me. Me says yo. Yo, me, if you can hear me, please tell me. Hopefully. Knock on fake wood here. I'm here. Waiting for me to say yo, I can hear you. Wait, not me. That's Martin. Martin, how you doing? Can you hear me? Great. I say dudes, and there's like only one guy there. Well, Martin's here. Thank you very much. I hope that someone else will come and say hello. Today, I kind of want to break with a little bit of the 1990 stuff and go back to, like 1991 or so, because a mini disc, is coming around 1992, 1993, and we can go loud and clear. Thank you very much, Martin. We can go pretty damn far. Mini disc going from 92, 93, all the way out to 2005, and then there's some units made out the way 2011, 2012. Well, Lynx, you know what? It's a little bit hard for me to actually sort of describe or start this story without just sort of explaining how my house was. I loved my house. We had 2 stories, like a lot of people did. It was, and back in the 80s, I guess, it was a hole. There was like literally holes in the ceiling, holes in the floors. We moved in. My dad just like did all his everything he learned in Sweden to just make it all beautiful. And we had a TV. It was like this, 13-inch, which in millimeters would be like whatever that is into millimeters, like that. The great thing about this TV is that from across the room, it looked like it was ultra high resolution because it was so tiny that the pixels were just crammed all together. So when I had friends come over, they're like, "What is that?" And I'd say, "Yeah, but just wait a moment." And they'd look at it, and bam, they'd be won over. No one would ever want a 13-inch TV, but they'd be like, "Damn, that thing's got really clear screen." Thank you. 13 inches is 325 millimeters. Remember that. Anyway, we had one TV in our entire house until 2000. 2000, we upgraded to 20-inch, and I think my parents still have one. And on that TV, when I turned like, let's say 7, 8, something like that, that would be 86, 87. When other kids had Nintendo Famicom systems, some kids had maybe Mega Drive was a couple of years later, but they had the Sega one, whatever it was. They had that. My mom, I don't know where she found it. She bought me an Atari 2600. I had never seen one before. I don't think mine had like the wooden panels or anything on like that, but she brought it back. And I think the big thing she was worried about was, Nintendo were kind of a family company, but they also were known to have a whole bunch of games. And yes, they were highly regulated, but there were a lot that were pretty violent. My parents were, on the one hand, against violence. On the other hand, my dad liked to watch like war games and stuff, or war movies and stuff like that. But anyway, I wasn't supposed to play violent games, so I got E.T. It was a pretty bad game. And I got a couple other games. I can't remember what they were. But I played that thing into the ground. Literally, it stopped working probably 2 or 3 weeks after we got it. The only thing it did was go on like an endless sort of demo play, and that's it. So I was some years without a game system at all. The only games we played at my house was Hearts and Rummy and all that sort of thing, until I saved up my lawn mowing business money, and I scootled down to a shop and I picked up Lynx 1. Why did I pick up Lynx 1? Gamegear. I mean, I could have afforded Gamegear. I couldn't have afforded a PCEngine GT. That was impossible, or TurboGrafx Express, or whatever it was called. Couldn't have done that. I could have gotten a Game Boy. Could have got a Game Boy. But everyone had a Game Boy. If I wanted to play a Game Boy, I'd just go down the house, go down the street, and I'd be like, "Dude, let's play your Game Boy." And he'd be like, "Sure, man. I would love to. Here, I've got another one. Let's hook up." So I picked up a Lynx, and there's a couple of reasons. And I feel like there's a bit of... I'm not going to call myself a fop or anything like that, but I've got this like standoffishness sometimes about me that's kind of nasty. And that is, whatever the big trend is, I kind of want to be respected, but I don't want to be in the middle of it. And I don't mean like I'm better or anything like that. I just kind of, I don't know. I wanted the Lynx. Once I saw it, look at this thing. It's literally, I got a long head, by the way. Okay, I have hair, by the way. I'm not Tim Pool. Look at that. It's long as my head. got hair, like it's fading, but yeah, screen's fading too on this Lynx. But check it, as long as my face. This was the longest system, I think, ever in the history of portable gaming. Now, it came in 2 versions. By the time I got my Lynx, let's say it was a year after the Lynx debuted, I think in 1990. It debuted in 89, I believe. By the way, I'm just going to take a sip from my alma mater. They have a saying, if you can go to York, no, if you can hold a fork, you can go to York. And both of the things were true for me. I still hold forks. And I went to York. Anyway, the Lynx came in 2 versions. I picked up this bad boy here. This is not the original one. I sold mine. I sold mine to my best friend, and then it got stolen. He got stolen like a year later. He was so upset. Yeah, they stole it. That sucked. That really sucked. I should talk with him again. But anyway, I picked up this bad boy, and the Lynx 1 is beautiful. I think it's got the sort of, now obviously it was designed in the 80s sometime, came out late 80s. But it's got, check this out, it's an 8-way directional pad. It's a circle, yeah. And it's got a raised a cross in the middle with little points, I guess you can say pips here, for in-between points, like that. Half stops, let's call that. On button, off button. Let me see if I got option 1, option 2, and flip. If you hit option 1 and, wait, no. Option 2 and restart here at the same time, it'll flip the screen. I'll show you that later on. If you do it this here and this one, then it restarts the unit. I think I've got that right. Oh, there's pause. It's a pause button. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about this. Anyway, it's a cool unit because you can actually, if you're left-handed, you can like hold it upside down. It's ridiculous though. It's ridiculous. I'll tell you why it's ridiculous. Because, well, let's just take a look. Let's turn this bad boy on. One of my favorite games is in here. It's called Electro Cop. In fact, that was my favorite game. A lot of people online, this is one of my problems with Lynx. A lot of people will get the screen it's ancient, right? You can kind of see it. It's pretty cool graphics. Does not real 3D, but it does scaling sprites, which just blow your brain. I'll do a proper review of this thing later on. But let me flip this bad boy. Check it out. Now it's upside down, I think. Should be. Yeah, it's upside down. But if you'll notice, the screen is completely washed out. And that's because the screen is only meant to be held right upside down, or right side up. And so you get this kind of like weird cast if you flip it upside down. So you could do it left-handed, but you'd probably end up having to twist your face like this. Turn it back upside. Like anyway, it came out, Game Boy, same year, but it had a color screen. Color screen wasn't the best back then. I think even the Gamegears, which came out, Gamegear was like 1 or 2 years later. Gamegears was even slightly higher quality, and the PCEngines was better in some ways. This is much brighter than the PCEngines, but the PCEngine had much smaller pixels that were tighter, and they were in some sort of like weird net. It looked better. It was a much tinier screen. This is a big one. Yeah, you can see there's some light bleed on the bottom here and on the sides. It's actually made in Japan, by the way. Made in Japan, Atari. It sounds like a Japanese word, Atari. Atari da! Like you got it. Well, anyway, this bad boy is freaking awesome. There's a couple of hardware issues here. And the main one for me is where you plug in the mains adapter. There's no sort of, what is it called? Construction around it to hold the adapter in place. So my unit, you plugged it in, and you had to plug it in because batteries would last between 4 and 6 hours, usually around 4. And at the time, there were no good rechargeables. If you use rechargeables, you get about an hour. So always using the mains. And that mains was not supported in any way by any piece of hardware. So what happened was that little thing would go in and it would bend. And so it bit off the plug that was in there. And I didn't, at 12 years old, know how to fix that. I could have done that maybe today. But yeah, so then I had to use batteries. I went back and I got it fixed, and it cost me, if I remember correctly, $42 in like 1992. It's a lot of money. The Lynx itself was like 179 US bucks, which today is like probably close to 400, maybe 350, something like that. So it's not a cheap unit. And I spent 42, which would maybe be like $80 to fix it. And when I came back, I ended up breaking it again. So that's twice in a single unit. And after that, I took it back to the shop and he's like, "You want me to fix this again?" I was like, "You know what? Yeah." I had him fix it again. Idiot I was. And then so I went home and I installed a plastic shunt here to basically keep it in place. And then later on, someone bought the first unit from me, and so I picked up Lynx 2, man. Look at that. Lynx 2 is like, it's got, I don't know, it's got like this Blade Runner look to it. Why has it got the Blade Runner look to it? Because it's got everything square and it's like spread apart. It's like it's got this sort of like circular patterns here where the speaker is, and it's got the squares and it's got the circle inside. It's like it's basically fighting itself. The design is. It's like, I'm square, no, I'm circle, and yet I'm square. And from the side, again, it's another arc, another crescent. You know, the first Lynx had a much smaller sort of crescent. You can tell, and it was less like, it had a lot more like sort of blocky shapes inserted here and there. And I don't know, they both look cool. I gotta say, I actually like the look of the first one, but the second one, man, check this out. Wait, okay, first, check out the back of this one. It's got grips here, plastic, fine. Batteries go in like this. Also, check it out. Positive terminals up. Positive terminals up. Most, Apple does that, and a lot of companies that really work about, they're thinking about design because they're like, if a person puts them up here, they'll probably want to put them up here. But if they're going down, a lot of companies like, doesn't matter. We'll just make sure they know to put it down. No. They were like, okay, you can put them in both ways, or both ways will go up. So it's on the same page, you don't get confused. I think that's a really great design choice. Then this little here, it's ugly, but that's where the card goes, the game card. It shuts like that. It's clunky, In fact, if you get some games that have like curled lips, they're hard to like properly install. So here's a game card, tiny little thing you put in your wallet. I think the Turbo Express or whatever it's called, PCEngine, they were similar, but they're longer. We'll do that later on. Electro Cop, favorite game of all time. This bad boy, it was money to fix that thing. And sexy, thank you very much, Moonshine. Which D-pad is better? If you're talking about the Lynx ones, I gotta say it's actually kind of, I don't want to say a draw. On the one hand, the first Lynx looks easier and you got more purchase and you got like the round bits, but I found actually that the square one of Lynx 2 is a little more accurate. How did that happen? I think it's because the cross portion of it is actually large, and because it's large, you have quite a bit of sort of room to move your thumb around, and the way you move it, as you do with all square pads, of course, is if you're going to go up and down at the same, left and right at the same time, you end up moving your thumb, right in between spots. But this is a huge pad. So I don't have big fingers, but they don't really, they're in between man fingers and metrosexual fingers, what I got. And I can hit the corner and up and down. This is backwards here. Very easily, no problem. So I found actually that this is easier. It's louder though, if you listen. And the first one, the Made in Japan one, there's basically no sound. I mean, yeah, if you're really pressing it, there's a sound, but it doesn't weave in its niche. And the second one, of course, it's quite loud. And the other thing about the second version is it kind of feels hollow. In fact, it twists a little bit more. We're not talking about like super high quality make. Another problem. Now, I kind of want to show you. I want to show you what I got here. So it's not just 2 units here. This is an unmodded unit, and this is a modded unit. So this has got the McWill screen in here. It's got a couple of problems with its mains, and that's something I got to fix. But let me just show you how good the McWill's mod is. It's not going to work with Electrocop, unfortunately. And also another thing with this bad boy, this is weird. From the Japanese one, all the batteries inserted up like that. In the Taiwan one, batteries go up and down. I don't know why that is. But let's change the batteries, and then let's show you another game. I'm an idiot. I left my games right outside. Oh, You guys let me go get them. I'll be back in just a second. Enjoy the blue lights, by the way. I actually went blue because I was going to title this stream Lynx Blues. And then I'll tell you why I was going to do that now. Pardon me just a moment. I'll be right back. Check this bad boy out. That's a tailor-made bag. Ugly as heck. You could put it on your belt. Look at that. That's amazing, eh? It fits both units. So I got all my games in there. Lynx 2 has quite a bit of space left over here. In fact, you know what? I could probably put the Lynx. Probably don't want to do this. These are not cheap. Yeah, I can put both of them in there at once. It doesn't lock, but that's what it feels like when you're like 12 and you own a Lynx. This is how big it feels, because the Game Boys were like that, and Game Gears, which were people complained about, were another inch shorter or whatever. But all right, yeah, I don't want to scratch these bad boys here, but okay. What we're going to do right now is we are going to now Electric Cop for some reason doesn't work on my modded unit, but I'm going to put batteries in, and if you guys can. Pray, and we'll see if we can get Electric Cop working. If we can't, we'll show another game on the modded unit. But oh man, look at that, batteries all up. And you gotta not easy to take out. The McWill modded unit, by the way, gets around. I think you can get over probably pretty damn well close to 8 hours of battery life if you're lucky. Now, here's a problem. I don't like doing this to my Lynx, but the battery's stuck up there. This is not good. Come. This is not good, guys. Pardon me for this. Got it. I hope you're okay. Hope my Lynx is okay. All right. Put this Lynx, after I've beat it up quite a bit, put it back in the case just to be safe. And in this light, it's kind of hard to tell, but batteries go up on this side here. We'll do the other weird battery on this side. All right. That looks good. I took this over to my mate David's house, and his wife was like, "Wow, I can really feel the passage of time when I see that thing." And I'm like, "Does it look that old?" And she said, "Yes." So, all right. So this is kind of, if you look at this, check out the Lynx too. It doesn't actually look like that's a battery cover, but that is actually a battery cover, and the whole thing is a grip. And it looks easy to take apart, but it's not. Let's pat that in there. All right. Now, with this unit, I told you I have a mains problem I have to fix. I actually haven't really figured out what it is, but usually I have to press the bottom of this thing to get it to turn on. Yeah, it looks like Electric Cop is not working for some reason. So we're going to change to something else. And that's my Lynx Blues for today. Fortunately, I have a lot of games that I really love. Hockey. Hockey is great. You got... Bad boy should take D cells. Yeah, it should take D cells. Although the inside is pretty stuffed, to be honest. It would be a much better boy with D cells. This game, hockey. Now all these games, when I picked them up at 12 years old, of course we didn't have internet. I didn't have magazines or anything like that. So I just went to game shops, and they would let you put it in the Lynx and you could try it out. And some of them I just bought because it looked cool. This one, you basically can choose 3 types of players: a fat guy, a metrosexual guy, and a middle guy. The metrosexual guy is really fast. The mid guy is kind of like Mario. He just kind of does everything in the middle. And the fat guy is slow, but he can like bash you to the side and all that. And you can actually, when you get in fights, it's like Street Fighter. There's special moves. There's uppercuts, and you like sit there and you just bash each other. And then like the fight ends when you've basically beat up the other guy. Great game. Not going to do it on the stream. California games, of course, super duper famous. I mean, it was one of the ones that if you had a Lynx, you probably played this or you probably had it. Also, an interesting game is that everyone liked the surfing of it and everyone hated the footbag. And the half pipe game is super duper hard to play. I never figured it out, to be quite honest. Footbag figured it out, but you can keep it going, and it's just not that. I didn't think it was that fun. The graphics were nice. Surfing was loads of fun, easiest to get into, and immediately you get this adrenaline rush. But the game that stole the show, at least for me, was BMX, and we'll do a whole video on it later on. But BMX was totally different than the Nintendo version and quite a bit different than the arcade version. What was the big difference? Was that instead of small, rather flat fields or pitches, or not pitches, like levels, you had just, of course, one level, but there were massive hills like this with little bumps. And the game was all about getting to the other side. But all of these games wanted you to do one thing: play it over and over and over and get the highest score you possibly could. Now, there are world records for each of these that you can find. And BMX, I found out how to do it accidentally. I was just playing, and one day I hit the B button. Yeah, B button when I meant to hit the A button, and it turned out that I flipped. Now, I knew you could flip. Whenever you hit B, you do a backflip. But I hit the B, and then when I was doing this flip down a hill, it hit another bump, and suddenly I was flipping all over the place, and I didn't land that one. But when I finally landed it, it was like points galore. You know, it was like 100 points until then, and I was get 400, 500, 600 points. So flips. But let's just turn this bad boy on, hold the bottom, and just check out this screen. Okay, it's warming up. All right, look at that. Look, okay, it's kind of too bright maybe for the camera on my computer, but look, totally different than the one in the old Lynx. This McWill thing is just, that's too bright. How do you adjust this? Apple, it's too bright. For me, I see like it looks great. I can't adjust the brightness of this. That's the one problem with the McWill one. You can't do it. Well, that's kind of a shame. I want to show you guys. Ah, there, hold at an angle. Man, this game, loads and loads of fun. And if you guys get a Lynx, by all means, pick up the McWill mod. I think it's, if you do it yourself, I think it's like 99 bucks. If you get someone to do it, you can pay up to like 200. But it makes it fully worthwhile. I took this bad boy on the train in Tokyo, pulled it out, whipped it out like that, was playing. And you could tell immediately who the nerds on the train were. They were like, but they didn't want to say anything. But they were like, all these like kind of otaku looking guys were like sniffing up next to me. And I was like, you know, I've never been terribly cool in life. And it's not really cool having an otaku sniffing you up. However, I felt like a kind of a star at that moment. Anyway, cannot center weight exposure. Yeah, it's kind of a shame. Anyway, awesome game. But now here's a weird thing. Lynx has a lot of good arcade conversions, a lot of good ones. And then it's got some ones where you're like, well, how did that happen? California Games is in between the two. It's not quite as good as the arcade. In some ways, it's better. I think the BMX had the best conversion of all of them. Then you get a game like Hard Driving, which is a damn good game on the arcade. And I think they have a good one on the ST, although I didn't play the one on the ST. Great game. You put it on the Lynx, and let me just show you. Lynx is already known for not having good frame rates. But on this bad boy, you can't even. Yeah, I got to hold this at some weird angle. Oh, wait, that's paused. All right. I'm hitting. All right. Look at that. Now you're not seeing a delay because of, wait, how do I go? You're not seeing a delay because of YouTube. Oh, there we are. Look at that. I hit left. Oh, there, now I'm going left. I hit right. Now I'm going right. Yeah, it's got actual 3D graphics, actual polygons. It's like 1989. Polygons. Yeah, eat your heart out, Star Fox. However, the programming on this was horrible. I'll do a proper video later on. You've seen them already anyway. You've seen videos, but you haven't seen. I don't think some. I don't know. You've seen better videos anyway. But that game was a horrible conversion. You couldn't even play it. It was just too slow. It was probably, you're looking at like 3 or 4 frames per second. And a racing game of any sort of game, you're going to have to need something like, you know, if you don't have 30 frames a second, you really can't keep up with anything. If you don't have if you've got 60, you can really do everything. And one problem that the Lynx had in general, I have no idea why, for a lot of their games, was low frames per second. The hardware was certainly fast enough to do it. There's some games that were just super fast and super smooth, but not all of them had that. Now, was it because the programming wasn't good? I mean, like Atari basically like commandeered the entire thing from Epix, and then that's it. You know, Epix lost their investment in it, but they kept, I guess, making things because of contracts or something like that, and they made some of the best games. Like Electric Cop is one of them. Off the top of my head, I don't remember all of them, but there are a lot of really good games, and they knew the system, of course, because they designed it. But a lot of the games didn't use the hardware that terribly well. Oh, Zarlor Mercenary, man, top-down shooter. If you like Raiden, you might not like Zarlor. Okay, Raiden's a great game, beautiful arcade game, still one of my favorite of the top-down ones. But this bad boy here, cool idea. But it really would be nice if it scrolled like this. It's like the bad guys come and suddenly they're right on top of you. 2, for some reason, there's probably doing 15 frames per second when you need 30 for a top-down scrolling game. I have no idea. They do it landscape for this game. It should definitely be. There are some games they did in portrait like this, but for some reason, this game was done in landscape. Got no idea why. It'd be much better otherwise. It's a wide, that's a wide angle screen. It's a 16 by 9, I think, or 16 by 10. And most of the other systems didn't have a screen like that. This bad boy did. And it's a low resolution screen. I think it's the lowest of all of them, lower than Game Boy, lower than Game Gear. I think it's got a lot of resolution this way, but not this way. It's only like 104. And I think Game Boy, Game Gear, they were 120, something like that. Maybe a little bit higher. And Nintendo, of course, much higher. Super Nintendo, much higher. There is a headphone port. Sound. Here's how it goes with Lynx. Good question, Martin, or me. I'll just call you me. Good question is, the sound could be excellent on this. In fact, the sound processor on the Lynx was the processor that was the main processor of the Game Boy. So just kind of translate into your brain. The main processor that powered the Game Boy is the sound processor for this bad boy. It could do 4 channels simultaneously. And when they programmed it really well, you would get music in the bottom, and then you would get sound effects and left and right effects as well, because this thing does stereo. If you plug in headphones, which is just right here, you get stereo. Otherwise, it's coming through a single speaker here. So the sound is actually, well, let's turn it on. You're not going to be able to see the screen. Which game is this again? I'll tell you. Oh, Zarlor Mercenary. Where's the sound? Tell me if that's too loud. It sounds. It doesn't. Some of the songs. Here, let's. That's not, okay. All right. I'll do another one. When I do reviews of this, I'll basically take a line and I'll plug it into the headphone output, and then, so you get the actual sound. I'm not going to do the what are they called? The emulations of these. But there are some games that have really good music and really good sound. However, it's not most of them. It's like with the graphics again. The Lynx could do actual 3D with polygons. It could do really fast sprite scaling. From what I understand, it was unlimited sprites on the screen at once. Only 16 colors on the screen at once, but they had some trick where it was like actually 32. And it was, I think the Palais was only, it was 4,096 colors, I believe. For the day, it was huge. I mean, when the Game Boy Color came out, a decade later, it did 4 colors on the screen. So, I mean, and Neo Geo Pocket Color, very similar, maybe it was 8 colors, whatever it was. The Lynx was way ahead of its time, but it didn't have any support. Epix were the only one that were really pushing behind it. And Oh, Martin, thanks for changing your name, man. Yeah, Lynx, Epics were the only one that really put in a lot of effort behind it. Atari weren't even doing that much, and so what you got was one company that knew the hardware, and they seemed to put out games that used the hardware really well from the very beginning, and then they didn't really stay the course. There was some really good music that they did. Electric Cop, when I'll probably do a long play, but I'll do it in my not my cheating way, but I'll do the way that I used to do it, which is when you play the game, there's like 9 doors or maybe more. I can't remember how levels. I think there's 4 levels, and there's something like 9 or 10 doors that you have to open, and you're supposed to beat the game in an hour. If you don't, you die. Well, when you're going through the game, you realize that they tell you the same code every single time for each door. So I used to take notes, copious notes on Electric Cop, a game that eventually, I can't remember exactly, did I finish in 7 minutes or 14 minutes? Once I figured out how to beat the game, it was one of those two. And I played it over and over and over and always was trying to beat my score. And I don't think I ever, if it was 7, I never went down to 659. If it was 14, I never went to 1359. Whatever it was like right around that time. And I was super stoked about my high score. And that game had 3 different alternate endings. Epics made it. The sound was good. The graphics for 1989 blew my brain. The way they thought of how to show things in the foreground and the background simultaneously, with sort of things that faded almost translucent. It was brilliant. And I think that game, among many, like I was watching a whole bunch of reviews the last week, and I wanted to put links to them in this review. And at the moment, I don't have OBS working, but later on I'll get it working so I can kind of show you whilst I'm like talking about them or whatever. A lot of them they were just rushing through with the emulations, and I understand that you don't have a Lynx. Not everyone has a Lynx or has access to it. And so they were just playing the emulator, and none of these portable systems, I mean, they're meant to be played like this. Once you get like a little controller in your hand and some emulation, you're so far removed from the actual hardware, you're not going to enjoy it to the same degree. And there's so many good games that need to be held like this, and you need to feel it. You need to be able to smell the Lynx. It has a different smell, has the whole feel of it. It's like you realize that when you were 12, you weren't ready for this system, but the system was ahead of you and it was behind you, and it was like you weren't ready for it, and it wasn't ready for you, and it wasn't ready for the world. As an adult, you look back at it and it's almost describing the teenage anybody. It's like, this is the adolescent game system. It's got pimples on its face, which is the bad programming of a lot of games, and the whole tumultuous situation between Epix and Atari, where Atari basically stole the system from Epix, and then everyone else bailed. Like, they were supposed to have loads of games lined up. They went over to, I believe, well, Nintendo, of course, and Sega, and they basically just kind of lost the game, essentially, possibly through greed. I'm not sure what. But it was a system that lasted a while, but it played second fiddle very quickly, even to Gamegear, and Gamegear weren't selling that much. And even I think, I can't remember, I'd have to look at the numbers right now, but I think even the PCEngine GT outsold the Atari Lynx, and the PCEngine GT would probably be bought back in its day for equivalent of like $800 US today. So I mean, it was not a cheap system. This was like 300 to 400, already, again, not cheap. It was just an awesome system. I just wanted to go through a couple of my favorite games. And oh, by the way, they got Paperboy, and it's good. It's good. Not as smooth as the Nintendo one, but it's got, in some ways, better graphics than the Nintendo one. The sound is better for sure. It doesn't have as much going on the screen because it's got like the entire resolution, or the entire screen is like half the size of the Nintendo one if you count for blocks and all that. Awesome game. We'll do that a little later on. Rampage. Okay on the Nintendo. It looks like mud. On the Lynx, gets zoomed in quite a bit because you got a lot less resolution, but it's basically, I would say it's just about as good as the arcade. Great graphics. It's not as smooth again for some bloody reason, but freaking awesome game. If you haven't played it, you're a lizard and you're a rat and you're beating up cities. I don't know how many. I never beat it. I think I don't know how many I beat. I played more than 30, maybe 40 cities in a row before, my batteries or my AC adapter broke or whatever it was. Freaking awesome game. Of course, we'll talk about that later. George. Let's check. Moonshine. Let's check. You know what? Maybe there were 4 you could choose from. Let's check. I'll turn on the sound a little bit. Look at that, man. Oh, all right. Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I forget things sometimes. You see that scrolling? Okay, we got Lizzie, we got George. Yeah, we got them all. We got all 4. So don't worry. Yeah, George the Gorilla. Sorry about that. Yeah. You got them all. Don't worry about that. Martin, Blue Lightning. I don't have Blue Lightning right now. I'm hoping to eventually get it. Blue Lightning, Electric Cop, and Rampage, actually. And one other game were my all-time favorites, but my Blue Lightning, of course, again, epics. It showed off what that thing could do. Man, you'd be flying over. Some people say it was like a clone of Afterburner. And I've played Afterburner, and Afterburner has, in some ways, some better looking explosions, but the gameplay, and it's a little smoother, but the gameplay and the game itself is actually better in Blue Lightning. There's a lot of more like dodging obstacles, and then you'll have missions where you've got to destroy a train that's on the ground, and yeah, you're flying over, and there's trees coming at you, there's hills, and there's a train going like this, and you're like, is this 1989 on a portable system? No, the graphics don't look great today, but at that time, it was like, what's happening? And it was frantic. You didn't have as good like zooming in and out as you did in Afterburner, but Blue Lightning is a really freaking awesome. But my all-time favorite game was the first game I ever got for the Lynx. It was the one that came with the used unit that I bought when I was 12 or 11, and that is this bad boy, APB. It was a good arcade game, actually an incredibly difficult arcade game that I hated putting money into. But on the Lynx, you don't have to put money in it. And no, it's not as smooth. The graphics aren't as great. The sound on the arcade version, which is just brilliant, is not as good on the Lynx. I don't know why. Whenever they programmed the sound to sound good, it sounded amazing. But for this one, nope. The sound was just okay. Atari did it, I guess. But damn, is it good. The endless scrolling levels, it's all the same city, the entire game, but I only beat up to level 54 on the Lynx, and then I had to go to Scouts, and then I left the Lynx on, and then I told my friend, man, I got to level 54, and they're like, level 54, what is APB? And oh, that game you're talking about, yeah. And so what did you turn off? Yeah, no, I left it on. And they're like, you left it on? It's gonna burn a hole in your screen. I was like, what? And so I called my mom. I was like, Mom, can you turn off my Lynx? And she's like, she knew what my Lynx was. She's like, where's the off button? I had to tell her where it was, and she turned it off, and I've never gotten to level 54 again. So I haven't beat that game, but gee whiz, is this an awesome game. You start out, and the tutorial just basically shows you every sort of general piece in the game, and you're just in the training where you have to learn how to fire your siren, have to go forward, and the basic etiquette of the game, which is you can basically ram anything except for pedestrians as long as you have your siren on. You can ram the bad guys, you can ram the good guys, except for pedestrians. You never run over a pedestrian as long as you got a siren on. But if you ram something too hard, you might blow up. And this game, you got 10 demerits. If you hit 10 demerits, that's it. Game over. And you lose a demerit every 5,000 points. 54 levels I got, and I never beat it. Favorite game, portable game, probably of all time. This Electric Cop, Rampage, and Blue Lightning were the ones, and are the ones that I still consider. Although hockey, I played the hell out of hockey as well. Beat it with I think every team, even the low end teams. So yeah, those were kind of my games. I had a whole bunch more back. I had Batman Returns. What other games did I have? I don't remember what other games I had. It was a long time ago. Like I said, I sold my unit when we moved from Colorado. I used to live there. Sold to my friend, and then he someone broke in and stole it from him. Kind of sucks for him. But yeah, I just bought another unit just 2 or 3 years ago, and that's this one here, the modded one. And then of course I got the unmodded version 1. And one thing about, I'm a 90s boy, sure, fine, I'm a 90s boy, but got my, when you're on the train, man, and this sound weird. Yeah, here it is. I'm repping for my team, which is you whip out your Lynx, and at the same time, no, right before that, best thing is you make it obvious that you got your mini disc. You just pop in a disc. You're like, oh, that's the one I want. You slowly plug in the headphones. And then, when people are like, okay, that guy's stuck in the past, whatever. That's when you whip out the Lynx. And that's when you get the otaku sniffers. And that's when you, as a fake otaku, I'm not a real gamer. My friend David, with whom I played, why do I always forget the name of that? It's called Top Gunner in Japan. Jackal. My least viewed video on this channel is of me playing a game with my mate here named David. We beat it, by the way. That game blows my brain as well. Anyway, yeah. So I just wanted to do I originally wanted to do a Lynx Blues stream because I can't get Electric Cop running. Electric Cop running. Can't get Electric Cop running on this bad boy. Not sure why. I'm going to try to get the screen modded of my Lynx 1. And then we'll see if that still works. Because that game I really want to show off. I don't want to play that game for you on the emulator. So that is my Lynx video. It was supposed to be about blues, but it's just about kind of like general Lynx stuff. If you got any questions, even if you owned a Gamegear, we can talk. Yeah, even if you owned a Gamegear, we can talk. You got any questions about just like what it's like to own one? Do I have any regrets as an old ass man now, 40-year-old man? Do I have regrets when I was a kid? Yeah, okay. In the intro to this, yeah. The big regret about the Lynx is this. No one had one. Evidently, another guy that I knew had one, but he didn't tell me when I had one. Like, we had them at the same time, but he didn't tell me. And it turns out that by the time I was really into it, a lot of people were kind of like turned off it already, these kids, because they wanted to play with other kids. You could link, I think it was 8 Lynxes together. Now, there's no games that support that, but technically you could link 8 Lynxes together. But if you ever found another person that owned a Lynx, you're probably like one of the 1%. I don't mean rich. I mean, like, of all the kids that had portable game systems out there, the 1% were the ones that had the Lynxes. Maybe like the 1% of the 1%. And if you knew someone else that had one, yeah, like you're looking at 1/10,000th of the population, something like that. And so, like, good luck, So, whatever. Oh yeah, Martin, yes, man. Atari, those 3 stripes, I think they're still one of the best gaming logos out there. It looks like an A. It also looks like a river, like, well, yeah, the Japanese like river, but also it's all kind of like starting at like this base pyramid going up to the top, but not making an actual pyramid. It's still suggesting that there's a forward momentum. I love it. It's simple. I don't know. I love, yeah, the Atari. Yes, I do get satisfaction from seeing that in Blade Runner. Anything else? If not, I would like to say thank you guys for sticking around for a Lynx, a rather unstructured Lynx stream, and for chatting with me. It's been excellent. I'm hoping to do next week some more streams. I've got some reviews coming out in the next several days. One of, by the way, you see that blue light out there, back there? That's from a company, don't remember the name. I bought one and they sent me an extra to review. I've got a lot of good and a lot of bad to say about that. But today I ended up in that small area there, I've got a Canon macro lens, a little tiny. Here, I'll bring it over. It's a 35 millimeter f2.8 macro lens. And this bad boy, I decided to shoot side by side with strobes, which I've taken down. You don't see them right now. Over here. Here, it's a Godo or Godox 8400. And then I took the same shot, same angle and all that, and I used two of those things in the same places, of course, because they're shaped differently, and I used just the same lighting modifiers. It's going to be a very different sort of end image, but I wanted to see and show you kind of back to back what you can do with a light like that, which $110, I think, versus more of a professional one like that flash, which, by the way, the Godox, not as good as a Profoto. It's got some weird, like rectangular or square patterns in the lights where the Profoto is perfectly round, and there is some problems with the trigger. But overall, half the price of the Profoto, and at the moment, I'm taking care of my daughter and doing what work I can at the same time. So I'm not exactly earning the big Profoto bucks at the moment. So there's kind of downsides here and there. But yeah, gonna be reviewing that as well as I can quickly. We'll got a Voigtlander lens in for the Leica. Got to give it back soon, like that. And we'll be doing some games, and I'm going to be talking about some movies that I like as well, which is originally what I wanted to talk about before I started this channel, but I ended up doing camera stuff and then audio stuff. So hope you guys don't mind later on listen to some review stuff, possibly some traditionalist banter about stuff like Endgame and all that. So that's it. Martin, thank you very much. Moonshine Graffiti, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to host you guys for almost 50 minutes. I can't believe you guys stuck around this long, but thank you very much. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm going to hit the end stream now. Oh, yeah. If you want to buy a hat, it's totally not a joke. It's not a joke. $20. Shipped to you. That's included, like me writing, but getting the hat and then sending it off to you. $20 all inclusive. Serial number and all that. No one ever says yes. I've had one. All right. See you guys. Cheers.